What about nutritional coaching at Virgin Active? Do you have something like that?
Yes, Virgin Active offers nutritional coaching. They provide one-on-one nutrition coaching tailored to individual goals, including a 45-minute session with expert coaches to guide you towards your wellness objectives.
What about personal training? Do you have anything at Virgin Active?
Yes, Virgin Active offers personal training options. You can choose from one-on-one sessions, pool training, or group exercise sessions. You can customize your training.
Hey, you might have already seen loads of people online claiming to make 10,000, 20, 30,000 per year by building something called as voice agents for other people. So if you're wondering how to go about building such a voice agent, I'm going to show you exactly that in this video. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to go about marketing your services, because once you realize how to build this thing, you'll realize it's not that difficult. What is going to set you apart from other people doing the same thing is going to be how you market, how you generate leads, and how you kind of automate that side of the business process. So we'll save that for the next video. But in this video, we're going to look at how to go about building this voice agent and give you all the blueprint that you need. So here I have a test voice agent that I've built using ElevenLabs and n8n. And the scenario I'm thinking of is, it's very hypothetical, and it's for Virgin Active Gym in UK, where in this scenario, I'm kind of building a voice agent for them just for the purpose of this video. And I went on their website and I gathered a few web pages, like here, membership, personal training. Here we have some nutrition, and kind of converted all of that text into a Word document and put them in Google Drive. And then finally, we're going to chat with an agent that will fetch all that information from those documents. So let's get started with building this workflow. So the tools that are needed right now are n8n. So if you haven't signed up yet, go to n8n.io and sign up for a free trial. There is also a version where you can run it locally as well. I've done that in one of the previous videos, so if you want, you can check that out. But here we are going to be using the hosted version just because it's much more easier to deal with the webhooks, which you'll see in a second. And then the next tool that we'll be using is called as ElevenLabs. And this is where you can have like text-to-speech, voice, dubbing. You can even train on your own voice as well. So this is what we are going to be using to interface with n8n with all our questions. So the voice element is coming from ElevenLabs. The next, you need to think of an application where you're going to put this agent. So I just thought of this Virgin Active website. So I'm thinking there are many gym coaches or personal trainers out there who might benefit from such an agent. So that's why I went with this, and just pick out 2, 3, or 4 pages of a web page. And what I did was I just right click on this and went into the reading mode over here. So if I just click on open in reading mode, it's going to open something like this, and you just select all of this and copy this, and then come into Google Drive, create a new drive and create a new file, and just put all that text in there. It doesn't even have to be structured properly, as long as you have some text that you know is unique and has specific information that you want in the voice call. And then once we have all this file, what we are going to do is put that into a database. And in our case, we are going to be using something called as Pinecone. And this is a vector store. And whenever the voice agent makes a call, it's going to look at the information in the Pinecone database to see if there's anything relevant to it. And then n8n is going to send that off to GPT in our case, and GPT will have enough context to answer that question, and we're going to get the response back, and ElevenLabs will get the response, which will be translated into voice. So that's why we need Pinecone. You can come into pinecone.io and sign up for a free trial again. And I'm on a free version here, so you don't even have to pay for this. They have a generous tier so that you can test out and run this as much as you like. And then finally, we'll also need Google Cloud Console. And this is useful for creating the credentials that we would need to put into n8n for talking with the Google Drive files that we've just put in there. So with that all said, let's get into this. I'm going to create a new workspace and we'll start building this. So I've come into this overview item in the sidebar, and then I'll just click on create workflow, which will bring us into this space over here. And then I can click on here, and then first things first, I want to trigger it manually. So the overall workflow is going to be, we'll first load all the data or all these 3 files that we have into Pinecone data vector store. And then from then we have another workflow, which which is going to read all that data and build another workflow. So the first part is just loading this data into Pinecone Vector Store. So the next step we want is to interface with Google Drive. So if I just click on this, I can search for Google Drive, and there it is. And then here I can search for search files and folders. So we want a list of files. If it was just one single file that you wanted to upload to Pinecone, then we just have download file over here, which you could use. But in our case, I've split it into 3 different files, which is a bit more realistic. In real world, you'll probably have loads more. So I just wanted to show you how this would work in real world. That's why I did this. So first things first, we'll look for all these files, and then the next step is going to be download all those files and then load that into Pinecone. So let me just click on search for files and folders. So here is the first hurdle that you might encounter. It might look like create a new credential on your machine if you haven't done this. I know it did on mine when I started. So you might want to click on this or click on create new credential, which will bring you to this screen. And there is a good documentation over here as well, somewhere over here. So you can click on this and read through that. But let me just show you where to get all this if you're completely new to this. So first thing you want to do is come to console.google.com and create a project. So if you just click on this button over here and click on this new project, you'll be able to create a new project. And I believe there's also a $300 trial credits that you get from Google, which is really cool. So once you have this, you want to come in here and search for API and services. And once you're in here, click on this enable API and search for Drive or Google Drive. And then here you will find Google Drive API, which you want to come and enable. When you first set up a project, it won't be enabled. So in my case, I've already enabled it. That's why I have a manage option over here. So let me just come back. And then the second step is going to be come to the same place, API and services. You'll want to create an OAuth consent screen. Because if you see here, there's 2 ways of authenticating with Google Drive. The first one is OAuth 2, and then the next one is service account. You can use either one of them, but creating a service account is going to be a bit more risky, in my opinion, if you haven't done this in the past, because it opens up access to anyone who has access to this service account. So it's much more recommended to use OAuth, which is what I'm showing you right now. So you might want to come in here and there'll be a way to create this OAuth consent screen. In my case, I've already created it. That's why it's calling edit app. But if I go into something like this, it'll have all these steps, which probably you're also seeing. So you can give it a name in your case, add a support email and developer email as well. Click on save and continue. Within the scopes, you can come in here and add Google Drive. So the way that you would do that is click on add or remove and search for Drive, which will show up all the APIs over here. So you can just first one, which is see, edit, create, delete all of Google Drive files. So you can update this and it'll get added into this section over here. If you haven't enabled Google Drive yet, then it's not going to show here. So the first step is going to be that you go in and enable this Google Drive. So you can click on save and continue. Optional information is fine. There's nothing. Save and continue again for the summary. And one thing I want to point out is the user type is going to be external, which you'll probably get asked in the OAuth consent screen. And that's it. You can click on done somewhere in there in the section, and then you'll be fine. And then you can come back to the dashboard. And once this is done, you want to come into the credentials and click on create credentials, OAuth client ID, and choose an application type of a web application. Give it a nice name. And here is where you will put the redirect URI. So if you come back to n8n, it's already giving you an redirect URL. So you can just click on that, come in here, paste this and click on create, and you'll get the client ID and client secret. So you can just copy this, paste the client ID and the client secret and click on sign in with Google. And it'll open up Google's login like this, where you can sign in with your email address and click on allow. And once this is done, it says account is connected. So once that is done, you can come back to this step where you have resources, files, folder is fine, operation search. You don't want to touch any of this. What you want to add is here, you can click on add filter and click on folder. And here it'll search through all the folders and give you a list of them. Here, my folder was Virgin Active Voice Agent, which is the folder that I've put all my files in. So you can just select that. And you can just click on this test step, which is going to pull in all the files within that folder, and it'll show you over here. So I have nutrition coaching, personal training, and membership are the 3 files that I have in my directory. So this is good. You can click on back to canvas and you have successfully done 2 steps now. We haven't touched upon this yet. it just runs it when you click on test workflow. That's all. There's nothing to it over here. So let's add the next block, which is we want to download all these files. So we'll do the same thing again. Click on this and then search for Drive, show you Google Drive, and here we will click on download a file. So here we are using the same thing again. So here I'm using Google Drive account 2, and then resource is file download from list. So you want to click on this and click on ID, because we have ID over here. This is the schema that we have from the previous step, Google Drive step. So I can just drag and drop this ID into this, and here we have json.id, and this will show or actually download the file. So if I just click on test step, you can see that it's downloaded the 3 files. So we have the nutritional coaching, we have the personal training, and we should also have the membership on the screen. So this is good. We've downloaded these files. So the next step is going to load all this into Pinecone database. So there isn't an easy way to give all these downloaded files directly to Pinecone and let it load. So that's why we want to loop through each one of them and then load them one by one. So we can add a node here called loop, and there's no configuration to be done here. You can just leave it at batch equals 1 and then go back to canvas. And as it says here, you want to replace this. So I can just delete this and delete this loop as well. So we have 2 sections over here, done and loop. So with the loop, I'm going to select this and then select Pinecone vector store. So this is the one. So I can just click on this, and we want to select add documents to vector store. And in the next workflow, we are going to be using retrieve documents. But in this step, we would just want to add all the documents. So I can just click on this, and here you have to connect to your Pinecone instance as well. So you can just click on here, click on create new credentials. Here is where you would need the API key. Go back into your Pinecone instance, and in this API key section, you'll get an API key which you can copy and paste it in here. And once that's done, you are authenticated to use Pinecone. So the operation I'm setting here is insert documents, and we want to load all this data into an index within our Pinecone database. So I can just click on this and I click on agents. And if you're wondering where that is coming from, so you can come in here in the database section, you have index. So you can just click on this, and here you're seeing index equals, or it's showing one index and it's called agents. If you want, you can come in here and create another agent or give it your own name here. So this is good. And one little thing that I'm going to do is there is something called as namespaces within these indexes. So if I click on namespace, there's already version active for me because of what I did in the previous step. But if I just click on here and then say Pinecone namespace, I'll just give it a name called Jim. This just logically separates the documents from this agent within the index in the Pinecone. It's just a way to separate out all the files within there. So this is good. I can click on back to canvas, and here is where we need to add an embedding. So I can just click on this and I'll select embedding OpenAI. And if you're on the free trial, n8n has some free OpenAI credits, so you don't have to put in your own API key. If not, you can just click on this and click on create new credentials, and you would need API key from platform.openai.com. So within the platform, you can come into API keys and you'll get an API key which you can come in and put in here. And the model is defaulting to text embedding 3 small because I'm using the free credits over here. But if you're using your own API credits, it'll say medium and large, but small is fine for this use case. Just come back there and that is good. And then for the document, we'll just say default data loader, and this should be good as well. So one of the things that you want to pay attention here is the type of data. We're not sending JSON data. We are actually sending binary data because we are downloading all the files and we are loading all the files from Google Drive into Pinecone. So we want to select binary here, and then everything else should be okay. So you can just click on back, and there's one little element over here. You need to split your text, and here we are going to say recursive character text splitter. So this is the most recommended one for most use cases. We are going to set the chunk size as 1000 tokens, so that's fine. So let me just zoom out a bit. So this is what we've built so far, and this is just for one file. Now, because we have 3 files, we want to put this in a loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over in here, and this creates a loop. So it'll do the one file and then the next one and then the next one. So I think we're good to test this entire workflow now. So before that, just come in here and click on save, and let's also give it a name. I'm just saying load data to Pinecone. So this is good, and let's click on test workflow and see what happens. So now we've got all the files from Google Drive. It's downloading each file, and now it's loading one of them. So it's all done. It's done all the 3 files, and the workflow is completed successfully. So we can come back to Pinecone now. And a quick way to check if this worked was if you click on agents and namespaces, you'll see the Jim namespace that we just created within n8n, and I'd already shown you that I had Virgin Active in the past. So Jim has come in here, so which means the data loading from n8n has worked out perfectly. So once you have the data in Pinecone or any vector store, that's half of the job done. So imagine you're working with a client who has like hundreds and hundreds of PDFs or Word documents that they want to chat with. So this is probably where you would spend most of your time. So having this workflow done and understood is going to be really, really beneficial, because the next part is going to be slightly easier. So for the next step, we are going to work with ElevenLabs to set up a voice agent. Now, so far, if you've liked this video, I want you to hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel, because I'll be bringing out more of such videos in the future as well. So having said that, let's jump into ElevenLabs. Hopefully you've already signed up to this amazing tool. So once you're in here, you have a couple of options. So I'm just going to click on agents in this conversational AI section, and you can come in here and click on create an AI agent. There are already a few options over here, but I want to start with blank template just to show that how it all works, because if you select one of these, it still works, but it kind of has some built-in features anyways. But I want you to pay attention to blank template. So I'll just give it a name. I'll just call it Jim Customer Agent. I'll click on a blank template and click on create agent. So once you're in here, you'll be more tempted to come to the voice section and listen to all the different voices that ElevenLab has. I know I did that initially. So you can just go in here and play around with all the voices and see which one suits you the best, and then select that. And then agent is probably the one where most of the things happen. So here we have additional languages. The first message, this is the welcome message that the agent says out loud. So here I'm just going to say, hey, I'm Vinny. How can I help you today? And next we have the system prompt. So the system prompt, I'm just going to delete all of this and then paste in what I have. So I'm saying you are customer support manager responsible for providing accurate, helpful information about Virgin Active Gym, and give it a few roles, like your role is to actively listen to the user question and so on. But here is where it gets interesting. So I'm saying you have to understand the user's question and then use n8n tool to query the project database, right? So you'll see where n8n tool gets used here. After receiving the response back from n8n, provide user with clear, concise answer. And then I'm also saying maintain a friendly tone and use filler words like and okay, because that's how regular people talk. So it kind of makes it a bit more believable that we're talking to a human rather than an AI. So that's my system prompt. So you might be wondering, where is this n8n tool coming from? So it doesn't have to be an n8n tool. You can say whatever you want over here. You can just even use your own name. You can say Vinay tool, actually your name. But I'm just going to stick with n8n for now. And then for LLM, I'll leave it as Gemini 1.5 Flash, because it's the most cost effective and one of the quickest as well. Temperature, I'm just going to leave it in between because it can be creative over here. If you want it to be a bit more deterministic or have answers that are very, very repeatable, you can just go up to 1. So I'm just going to leave it here. If you want to limit the number of tokens, you can do that here as well. But here, this is where we want to put our n8n tool, which we mentioned within our system prompt over here. So I'll just delete this tool that we have already. So here is where I can click on tool and then say custom tool. So if you think about how the information flows from this voice agent within ElevenLabs into n8n, this is how it happens. So we have this webhook, or just an API or a URI, if you will. And whenever we speak to ElevenLabs voice agent, it's going to send all that information. If it sees that it's worthy of making that n8n tool call, it's going to send that information to a URL that we are going to get from n8n. And once n8n receives that information, it's going to perform the query lookup with Pinecone database and then send only the relevant information back to ElevenLabs, and then ElevenLabs voice agent is going to speak it out loud. So hopefully all that workflow is clear in your head. If so, let's get moving with this. So here we need a webhook. So I'm just going to call this n8n tool. Description is the same as well. Method, we are going to use post, and here is where we need the URL. So for the URL, we are going to jump back into n8n and we'll create a new workflow, because this workflow was loading documents into Pinecone. And instead of click over here, you can even have automatic triggers. So whenever you add a new file into this drive folder, it kind of automatically loads that into Pinecone as well. This is for production. So let me just come over here, overview, create a new workflow. And this time, if I click on this, we want to select the webhook. So we have two here. One is webhook and one is the response. So we'll first pick the webhook over here. And we have the test URL, production URL. So we're going to use the test URL for now. And the method, we are saying it as post because we are going to receive a post or a request with some body parameters within it. Path is fine. Authentication, respond immediately. We'll say using respond to webhook node, and we'll put that in the end. So we have this URL over here. This is what we want. We can jump back into ElevenLabs and put this URL over here. So the next step is adding actually the body parameters. So this is where ElevenLabs is going to send the actual question that it was able to parse from the user's question and then send it over to n8n. So if I just enable this, you'll see we have some description that we can give. I'll just say ask the user what questions they have. I can click on add property. So the first one is going to be question. So this is the JSON object we are going to receive in n8n, and you'll see where we'll get this a second. For the description, I'm just going to say question from the user. So I know that was quite a lot of configuration over here, but this is one time, and once you get used to this, it'll be kind of straightforward. So this is all good. If you want, you can add more properties. So maybe there's a question. Maybe if you want the agent to book a calendar meeting, you can also add all those things in here as another property. You can add properties like date and time and other things as well. But for now, we just want to keep it simple with a question and answer kind of a system. So I'll just say add tool. So I'll just leave it at n8n core tool. So we've just renamed our n8n tool over here. So let me just come back and update here. So I've just renamed my tool from n8n to n8n underscore tool because that is what I named it over here. So finally, I can just save this. So to test the webhook really easily, I'll switch back to respond mode to immediately from what we had set using respond to webhook. So if I set it as immediate and I click on listen to events, and I can jump back into ElevenLabs and test agent again. Hey, do you have information on the gym membership? Okay, so that's all we wanted for now, because what I'm more interested in is this data that we get back in the webhook. So if I click on JSON and scroll down a bit, so you'll see the question, which is what we defined here within our tool. So I'll just scroll down over here and click on this. So we have this question parameter, which is going to give us or give n8n information about the question. So here it says information on the gym membership. Great. So now we have the voice agent sending information to this webhook, and we can take this information and then pull relevant data from Pinecone vector store and then send it back. So this is good. And before I forget, I'll just change it back to using respond to webhook node, and you'll see that where we use that. So let me just save this. So the next piece that we want here is I'll click on this and we'll go to advanced AI, and here we'll select the AI agent, and you'll see immediately the webhook data that we have access to within here. So here what we want to do is pass on that question that we got from the webhook into the next step or into this agent. So here we have the name of the agent. So this is a tool agent, that's fine. The source of prompt is user message. So I'll just click on this and say defined below. And what I'll do is I'll drag and drop this over here, and this picks up JSON body question, and information on gym membership is the example from here. So this is what we want, and I can click on back. So this is partially set up. So we need to add a few of these now. So this is straightforward. If I click on the chat model, we want to use the OpenAI chat model. You're free to use any of the other ones. I'm just using this because there's a free tier there, and the model is kind of defaults to 4.0 mini because I'm on free credits. But if you have your own API key, you'll have a host of different models you can select, and I can click on back, and this should be good. That will go away in a second. There we go. And then I can come in here and add the tool. So the tool that we want is we want to answer questions with a vector store. So I'll just click on this. So I'll just say use this to answer the question, and data name is fine. Limit is 4. That's completely okay as well. Back canvas. And here is where we want to select our store. So I'll just click on this and select Pinecone vector store. We already established a connection to our Pinecone database. So that's already showing up here. Now in here, operation mode, initially in the previous step, we did insert documents. Now we want to retrieve documents. So we'll keep that. So the index is going to be agents, and we'll also select the namespace, which called as gym. I'll just move this in here, and we want to set the embedding, which is going to be OpenAI embeddings again, and it'll choose the small model. That's fine. I'm back. So this was the embedding over here, and we want to select another model in here, which is going to be coming from OpenAI as well. This time we are going to select 4.0 mini. So once once this is all done, I can click on this and we'll search for webhook again. And this is where we want to select respond to webhook. And within this drop down, I'm going to say all incoming items. Click on this and click on save. And this is going to be, I'll call it voice agent RAG, because this is what we just built. This is a RAG, system retrieval augmented generation. So this is good, and I can test the workflow. So if I put this in test workflow mode, you'll see that it's waiting for a trigger event. So now is the time to test our agent out. So I can come in here and click on Gym Customer Agent, put this in test AI agent mode. And what you want to do here is also make sure it is running, or in the test mode, it says waiting for trigger event. So in the test mode, you have to click on this again and again so that it does this in a loop. Whereas if you're in the production mode, which is click on this, it'll put this in the activated mode, and then you will be allowed to use the production webhook URL as well. So for now, I'm happy to leave it inactive because we are still testing. So I'll click on this and come back here and click on the agent. Hey, I need more information about the gym membership and its pricing. So it kind of handled that really well, because it looks like I've run out of all the free credits within my n8n, at least the free credits for my OpenAI. But at least you saw it came in here and it's trying to look for this agent to make a call, and it'll go through all this and respond back. And I've already shown you how this works in the initial stages of this video as well. So you can try this out and see how all this works, and let me know in the comment section of what kind of agents that you've built. And this is not the only voice agent out there. There's also something called as VAPI. So this is another voice AI for developers. So in the next video, I'm going to do something on this as well. So if you're liking this kind of content, so hit that like button for this video, and also subscribe to my channel so that you'll get notification on when the video gets uploaded.